Welcome back.
We're back.
It has been a minute, my friend. How have you been doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited about this episode 7. I'm telling you, like we've got a lot to talk about. It's been so busy, like I just want to talk about what's happening in our Salesforce lives and put some of that other stuff behind us.
Oh, look, you are hitting the nail on the head with that one. It has been crazy, both work side and life side.
Right.
So, finally getting able to record kind of gives a little bit of relief on that end. So, without further ado, we can kind of jump into it. So, Ted, my friend, last time that we spoke, I won't say it's the last time, but a few episodes ago, you were dealing with quite the conundrum. This invisible object that has been haunting you in your sleep tried to just take you out, banana peel under your foot. He was working you, Ted. Do you have an update for us on how you're doing with that thing?
Yeah, I finally do. I figured out that I got stuck because I was just thinking way too old school. I go back, I've been doing Salesforce stuff for so long. Like I started off in Classic and then the move to Lightning, and things worked certain ways and then it's changed as time's gone by. And so there are these things called contact roles in Salesforce that allow you to essentially take a contact that might work for another company and like some sort of partner or something like that. And then you can put them and connect them to a opportunity or a contract, that sort of thing, so that you can take people that work wherever and bring them together so that when you're looking at a certain object like an opportunity, you can tell that they're involved in some way or another. You can assign them a role so you know what it is that they do and what their role is in that opportunity. But back in the day, you used to be able to put those also on accounts.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. So what I was looking at was contact roles on accounts built back when we used Classic. And then now that it's switched over to Lightning, you have to turn on, if you want to use something similar, you'd have to turn on this capability called contacts on multiple accounts. So it's a different way. So like one contact record could be attached to multiple accounts at the same time. And my company never turned that on, but we had that residual Classic only account contact roles. And that's what I was seeing. And that's what was messing me up. And so I figured it out. So it's not one of those things that I had to figure out to solve a problem that somebody else was having. It was just, I was looking at something and it was just confusing the heck out of me. And so it was my own stubbornness that I just had to keep going back and to figure out why it was so weird. And I figured it out. That's why it's so weird.
Wow, it is quite the solution though. Ted said, I'm so old school. The new school way didn't account for that. So I had to go check the settings, figure it out. Well, look, man, I'm glad that you have conquered that thing.
I'm going to check that box and put it aside. It was, so, I think everyone runs into those things, right? Where you just, you can put it, but you should just put it away, but it just bugs you and bugs you and bugs you, and you don't want to give up until you figure it out, So
yeah, you don't want to take that L. Nobody likes taking L's, especially in the technology world.
Right.
Look, it has been times where just off to the side exercises have gotten me like that, man. I had a Excel spreadsheet one time where I was writing out a function using regular expressions, and for the life of me, this thing would not do what I wanted it to do.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with my manager, and he's like, why are you spending time on that? That's not even your role. But somebody came to me with the problem,
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm working on this.
Yeah.
I can't get it to work. Can you help me? Man, look, I spent a good while. You go out to the forums. Everyone's like, hey, it should work, this, that, and the other. Man, I had an extra space in the thing somewhere. It was something simple. Drove me crazy though. Got it resolved. I just shut the laptop off. Took me a sick day, and just fumed about it like stupid Spaceball. That was it, man. That's
hardcore.
Yeah, and I will not even get into the stories of COBOL. Man,
yeah, I bet.
on a Unix box, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not
I
gonna talk
bet.
about how we had batch jobs running on COBOL, and that thing is like you have to have everything in the right space. If something is off, if you're processing a data record and it's off, it's gonna blow the whole thing up. I don't want to get into. You're bringing back nightmares, Ted.
Yeah.
You're bringing back nightmares.
Switch topics. Switch topics. So
Yeah,
what have
yeah.
you been up to? What have you been? How's your saga? Have you been able to find time during this busy time to
I
dedicate
have
so
not.
full?
This saga has been less Salesforce, more. I don't want to say real life, but more house force. I'm gonna call it that.
Yeah.
Back a while ago, a couple weeks back, we had a really bad hailstorm that kind of tore up the house. So I've been in the process of trying to get that managed between insurance and the contractors. And right in the middle of that, we have a freeze, which may be normal to a lot of northern people, even some Midwest folks. But in the South,
We're not talking an IT freeze. We're talking a
no, we're
real
talking
freeze.
about a real freeze, not snow, not snow, ice, legit ice. Like you go out and it's ice. We're not used to that. Down here in Louisiana, if we get a little bit of ice on the road, everything shuts down.
Yeah,
So we
totally.
had about 3 good days where everything was closed, nobody was doing nothing, and that was it.
Did you lose power for any of that, or
No. Gladly we did
good.
not.
Good.
So that wasn't a concern. But in the past we have, and it's usually never fun.
Yeah,
So
no, same here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that is
Well, you know,
kind of
I mean, that's real. Like things ebb and flow, and I think, like, you know, for our listeners out there, our watchers, like, well, I think you can relate to that. Hopefully people can relate to the fact that just because you have a goal and things that you're setting out to do, like we are, it doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it's just a straight curve, you know, like, or just like an on ramp to be able to get there. Life gets in the way. There's, you know, weather. There's all that sort of stuff. So, so what are you going to do about it? So what happens next? What are you gonna?
Oh yeah,
how are you
look,
going to get back? How are you going to get back on that?
oh look, the boss, we know the boss is already has lined up, hey, you need to get back on studying.
Yep.
So I plan on, like, after the recording tonight, we have a session lined up. I'm gonna take about an hour, do a recap on several of my previous lessons, probably dive into a new one.
Great.
But definitely just get back on the horse and get going
Great.
now that the roads have cleared a bit. I will say though, it has not been a total lack of participating in Salesforce activity. So if you recall, this saga has 2 parts. It's a
It does.
2-part saga. It's not a 1 part.
It
It's
does.
2 parts.
It's
The
two.
first
Yeah.
part, admin cert. The second part, speaking at the conference. So I have made some progress on that, my friend. We have our
Okay.
tickets. I also submitted my abstract in the pool as a potential speaker for Dreamin' in Color 24.
That's fantastic.
Yes, I have dropped it. It is in there.
That is
So
fantastic. So are you going to share what that is? Or are you going to keep that under your hat for now?
I am going to keep it under wraps.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it under wraps. I will say this though. It is around something that is very hot in the tech industry right now.
All
Everybody's talking about it. Several folks are using it.
Workflow rules. No, just kidding.
Look, they've made movies about it. Wink, wink. Yeah. And let's just say we all have our fingers crossed that it's not Skynet. And I'm going to leave it at that. I dropped that clue, and I'm going to leave it at that, my friend.
All right, that's good. But I'm happy to announce too that you and I have also put in a submission to hopefully get selected to speak at Dreamin' in Color about our podcast and about the saga and our story and how it kind of came out of last year's Dreamin' in Color. So
Yeah,
hopefully that'll be something we can look forward to and talk about in future podcasts as well.
Yeah, so I'm not putting any pressure on anyone, but Tiffany, wink, wink. Okay. Just kidding. Just kidding. But we do have that lined up. In addition to that, admin exam date.
Okay.
So plan is to have it scheduled, to get the date selected and scheduled this week, not take the test this week.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
coming into the next episode,
Yeah.
I'm going to drop that heavy date
All
on
right.
everyone. So you guys can send
Great.
all those good vibes and good energies my way on that date.
Yeah, and speaking of the next episode, we are doing this podcast in seasons, and our episode arc is 8 episodes for this first season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great thing to leave, I think, the audience with, that date and that goal, so that when we get back together for season 2, we can give updates on that.
Yeah. Now, what about you, Ted? What is going on with your saga?
Well, I've decided to focus on another certification exam.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's the business analyst exam.
Okay.
So I have a BA background, and it's been a long time since I did that job exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
But as any admin that's been doing Salesforce stuff for a while knows, you're always doing some sort of BA related work. You're getting to know your customers. You're trying to understand what they need and compare it to what's available and what might be the next thing that you can give to them. You're trying to figure out those user stories, and you're trying to draw the diagrams to be able to illustrate what's going on system-wise and process-wise, and make sure that whatever you invest in is the most valuable, biggest bang for your buck, for your users and for your company and that sort of thing. So that's definitely a part of what I do. And so I decided to focus on that exam to kind of bone up and hone my skills a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've kind of been in the weeds of some of that stuff. And at work, my boss is allowing a coworker and I the freedom to be able to pick a handful of sales offices that we support and go and travel there and interview people face to face, build relationships, see what they do to do their job, and do a lot of that sort of stuff. And so we actually did our first one last week, where we went to New Jersey and New York City, and had a great visit with a couple of offices and teammates there at Unum. But by relearning and making myself better aware of these BA concepts, I want to apply that to what I'm doing. Because what better time to relearn some of those things about proper business analysis than when I'm going in person to these different offices and stuff. So,
man, that is awesome. That's
why I picked that one. Yeah,
that is awesome. And look, you brought me back. I want to say to episode 1, and you told me the story about your grandma.
Yeah,
and and I talked about the tool belt. So this is a perfect example of you living that and having more than a hammer in your tool belt. So folks, take that, pick up on it. You need more than a hammer in your tool belt.
It's true, and I bet you come across this quite a bit too with your developer background. Like when I don't have a developer background, but I had like the BA and project manager background. And what I learned years ago taking some project manager classes, besides the fact that I'm really not the best project manager in the world, but what I learned when I took classes was that I was already doing a lot of the concepts, that are out there in the book. I just didn't know what they were called. Right. I didn't know why I was doing it really, and then it really kind of explained it and helped me know why you do things a certain way. And then it adds on a lot more, extra stuff that you didn't know. But I feel the same way with the business analysis stuff. And I bet you from a tech standpoint have learned a lot of stuff, and then somebody said, oh, why don't you get certified, or why don't you take a class? And then you take the class and you're like, I could have taught that class, but at least it kind of packages it together for you or something.
Yes. Like I had a DBA class that I took some time back, where that was the case. I started out like SQL was one of the first kind of things that I started out doing fresh out of college.
Okay.
So I went in and I was they brought me in as I don't want to say a business analyst. It was something. They were working through job roles, but they brought me in. And at that time, directories was still a big thing. So phone books.
Hmm.
And I kind of had to manage our directory. I won't say manage. That's not the. I had to add value to our directory department, and
Okay.
they would do SQL and things like that. So that was one of the first things I learned. Now in school, the interesting thing to me about school, and I know I'm probably jumping off, but y'all have to bear with me. I go on these tangents sometimes. Just
Sure.
listen to the story. So boom, I'm gonna tell you. You know, one of the interesting things for me about school was, typically people go there to learn something. They go there to
Sure.
learn this, they learn that. What I took away from it, and I found to be extremely helpful throughout like my career. This may sound weird to some folks. They may be like, we already know that. But school, school teaches you how to learn, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
teaches you concepts and principles that you can apply across a wide variety of things. So
Right.
whereas you may go in to study, say, PLSQL or Java or something like that, what you're really studying and learning is, how do I learn this stuff? So when I
Yeah.
step away from this classroom, what are the things that I can apply within my studies of my life to help me learn new concepts?
Right.
So kind of armed with that, I thought I was Superman, Ted. Back then, brain was fresh. I wasn't on coffee or anything. That mug was working. So everything that everything that I was running, it was just being absorbed. I was a sponge, like the
Right.
fresh sponge that you take out the plastic and still be yellow. You wash the car 6 times, it's still yellow.
Right.
So but we're not gonna talk about what color that sponge is now. Let's just leave that alone. Let's leave that alone. But yeah, just those types of things, like that's one of the big things that I pulled just from school,
Such a good point.
And when I bring that up because even now with the Salesforce stuff, I'm still applying those concepts and
Yeah.
principles that I learned back then to
Right.
help me, through this journey towards this admin certification.
Right.
So yeah, I
And,
mean,
and that's such a key. That is such a key concept, because when you are working in the Salesforce world, and I'm sure it's the same with other systems too, but when you're working and you're helping people, you have no idea what the questions are going to be, or what the problems are. Every Salesforce org is
mhm,
customized and slightly different, and so it's you got to rely on that framework to be able to then go and do
mhm.
that research and figure that out and learn what's going on so that you can do your job. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So, look, with that being said, look, I do want to give a plug, though. I don't know if y'all can see my nifty shirt. It says
Yeah,
"A
yeah.
Walk to Remember,"
Nice.
The Levi J Burton Foundation for Pregnancy and Infant Loss. This is actually a foundation that my wife started
Oh, wow.
back in 2020 after we had an unfortunate event. I won't go into the details, but she took that and turned it into something positive to where
Wow.
now she helps other families that may experience similar events.
Yeah.
And she provides them with resources to help them through tough times and things like that. So if you get an opportunity, this is to the listeners, and hopefully you can spread this as well. Just check out the Levi J Burton Foundation. You can Google it. It's going to bring up the web page. It'll show you, what it is that she's working towards, how
That's
she's
fantastic.
helping people, as well as several free resources. So if you know someone that may have been impacted by infant loss, you can share that with them. So I did want to give that plug out while
Nice.
we were on the interweb.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Look,
Thanks for sharing that, Jay.
yeah, man, she's awesome. Like I'm alright, y'all. My wife, though, she awesome. We gonna have her as a special guest on this thing. I'm
That's
telling you, gotta
been
have her as a
that
special
has
guest.
been my first choice all along.
Yeah,
So
hey, go ahead and stop that.
you
Stop
know that. We've talked about
that.
that.
But look, speaking of special guests,
Yes.
we got some surprises for folks coming up, Ted. We got
Yeah.
some surprises. Go ahead, break
Yeah,
it
we
down,
do.
Ted. Let them know. Let them know.
Yeah. So I think in season 2, we're gonna interview people. there's been a great response to our first few podcasts that have been out there, and we've got people lined up. I mean, not out the door. We don't have 20 people lined up, but we do have a handful of people that are interested in being on the podcast, and that we think are really interesting people, and would lend a perspective that people would love to hear about. So we're excited to have some people. I don't know. Should we say names at this point? Or
no, we're not giving names. We gotta build a suspense up. We're not gonna give names.
Yeah. So we'll build up the suspense, and we'll get ready for season 2, and we'll drop in a bunch of interviews and bring in some guests. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so team, look, I said team, work brain still going. I said work brain is still going. But to our listeners out there, so hey, if you have any questions just about Salesforce, I know you don't know who the speakers are, but just some kind of general questions or interesting questions that you think you'd like to hear a guest answer, feel free to drop them in the comments. Let us know, and we'll pick maybe 2 or 3 interesting questions, and we'll drop them on there. Might even put your name in there and say, hey, this one is from.
That's right. Yeah, we appreciate all the comments that we see out there, and we promise that we'll do a better job at getting back to people when you do take the time out of your day to comment, either on LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever it might be. So thank you so much for your support out there. We appreciate it.
And Ted, look, we cannot close it out. Look, I know that you are Ted the Music Man, Mr. Walking Concert himself.
That's true.
You've had some time. I know deep down in my spirit, I know that you didn't either visited a vinyl store, went to a concert, went listen to a band or something. What you got, man?
Well, I'm wearing my new T-shirt. It's not as an important cause as what you talked about, but it is the Sun Ra Orchestra led by Marshall Allen, and so I was able to see Marshall Allen and the orchestra, and I bought their album. But I just saw them last week. And so one thing I, kind of pointing back to what we've talked about and constantly learning and putting yourself out there and that sort of thing. Marshall Allen is a world-class saxophone player that is 99 years old. He turns 100 in May, and he is out there leading a band of 18 musicians that are all world-class. And to see somebody like Marshall Allen, who's had an incredible career at 99 years old, leading improvisational jazz music at the highest level possible, is an absolute inspiration. It gives me chills to even kind of think about it, and to think that last week I was able to see him and the orchestra do their thing. So we push ourselves and try to improve ourselves and so forth. But I mean, clearly, other people in all walks of life do the same thing as well. So I think it's cool, and that's what I like to do with music. I like to go see people like Marshall Allen and listen to that type of music. So,
man, that's amazing to be doing what you love to do at 99 years old and still kicking butt and taking names.
For real, that's exactly it. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, I want to say we just at about time, Ted. Yep. Any closing words, my friend?
Well, I'm looking forward to next episode, because it's going to be bittersweet. It's going to be the final episode of the first season, but it means that we've completed the first season. So thanks for dialing in and listening to these so far, and super excited about the next one.
Well, look, I have nothing to say after that, brother. You put it, you said that perfectly. So with that being said, we're out.
Thanks, everyone.
Laters. Oh! Don't worry, I'm going to cut that last